Long, long ago, in a land far away, there lived a little girl called Little Red Riding Hood. You might think that a strange name for a little girl. The reason she was called that was because she always wore a red cape with a hood. One morning, her mother asked her if she would take a basket of goodies to Grandma's house. Little Red loved her grandma and readily agreed. Her mother packed a basket of bread and ham, cheese and freshly baked biscuits and covered them all with a cloth. Little Red was about to leave when her mother reminded her,
"Little Red, you must not speak to any strangers in the forest. Promise?" "Promise, Mother."
This was something her mother told her every time she left the house, and she always promised she wouldn't. Today was no different. Little Red picked up the basket and skipped off down the lane towards the forest, where there was a shortcut to Grandma's house. As she was making her way through the forest, she met the big bad wolf.
"Where are you going, little girl?"
"To my grandma's house. She lives in the cottage on the far side of this forest."
"What's in your basket?"
"Goodies for my grandma. She's not been feeling very well, so my mother thought these would cheer her up."
The wolf smiled and gave a small bow.
"I'll bet your grandma likes flowers, doesn't she?"
Little Red agreed that her grandma loved flowers. The wolf suggested that it would be a nice idea to pick Grandma a bunch to put in the basket with the treats to brighten her day.
"That's a splendid idea."
Little Red put down her basket and knelt to pick some. There were bluebells and cowslips, daffodils and peonies. When she'd finished, she stood and brushed the grass from her cape and placed the flowers in the basket. While Little Red had been distracted picking flowers, the wolf ran as fast as he could to Grandma's cottage.
"Knock, knock."
"Who is it?"
The wolf was silent, so Grandma went to the door to see who was knocking. When she opened it, the wolf forced his way inside, tied Grandma up with rope, and locked her in a cupboard. The big bad wolf then hurriedly put on Grandma's nightgown, nightcap, and her spectacles, and jumped into Grandma's bed, pulling the covers high to cover his hairy arms and wolfish nose. When Little Red Riding Hood reached the cottage, she entered and went to Grandma's bedside. She was about to give Grandma the basket when she noticed that Grandma looked different from the last time she'd visited. She didn't look herself at all. Little Red peered closely.
"My, what big eyes you have, Grandma."
"All the better to see you with, my dear."
"My, what big ears you have, Grandma."
"All the better to hear you with, my dear."
"What big teeth you have, Grandma."
"All the better to eat you with,"
growled the wolf, pouncing on her. Little Red Riding Hood screamed very loud and tried to push the wolf away.
"Help! Someone! Please help me!"
Luckily, a woodcutter was chopping down trees in the forest, and he heard the little girl's screams. He ran to the cottage, chopped down the door, and chased the wolf away. The woodcutter heard sounds in the cupboard and released Grandma, who was so happy to see Little Red that they hugged and hugged. The wolf was never seen again, and Little Red never spoke to strangers again either.